Welcome back to MVM. Today I am bringing you a preview. This one is for Fugue from Lost Age Games. This is a game about dwelling within the mind of a creative artist trying to control which direction his creative outlet will flow. This is a two-player game that can be expanded out to more players, but you're going to see a two-player game set up here, and everything that comes in the base game is going to be based around that two-player experience. So you will see the game set up here in front of me. Keep in mind that this is a Kickstarter prototype, so we're dealing with prototype components here. The game is going to come with a deck of cards. It's going to feature 18 cards, and that is the deck that is going to serve as the timer for the game. You're going to play until that deck cycles through. In addition, you're going to have a player board. And this player board is where the action of the game is going to take place. Each player is going to have one of these player boards and play them out in front of each other. So you'll notice this player board is divided into three different areas. You have the imagination, the vision, and the passion, the three different zones, as well as all of the player aids that you would need to play the game printed there as well. In addition, you'll have the depth, which is in the middle of the player board here. This represents the fourth zone, which is a shared zone for all the players. In addition, the deck itself is going to sit on that board. So you'll take your score marker, start with 0 points, and you will draw 2 cards to start. Now, the deck is made up of several cards of each color. There are cards to represent each one of those different aspects of the mind. So you're going to have the yellow, blue, purple, and green cards that will directly reference back to those zones. You're going to start the game with 2 of them, and they're going to come down here into your imagination, which is almost kind of your hand of cards, and they're going to sit here in front of you so everyone can see them. In addition, there is one other type of card, and that is a spirit card, and there's going to be 4 of these shuffled into the deck. When these spirit cards are drawn, they're going to allow you to do some very different things and create what are called fugues, which is kind of the main goal of this game. So these are going to be randomly shuffled into that deck. Once you have shuffled the deck and dealt everyone your 2 cards, you can begin the game. The gameplay is deceptively simple. On your turn, you're just doing basically one thing. You're taking one of the 2 cards from your imagination and you are sliding it up to your vision. And you'll notice there are 4 places here within vision where you can store cards. You have to decide where to place them in one of those 4 slots. Once it's in that slot, it's going to stay in that slot. And that is important because as you move these cards up, you're going to be creating sets or pairs of cards. You're going to be looking at whatever pair you've created. When you create a pair, you're going to be able to use an ability. And this is kind of the meat of the game here, is timing the use of these abilities. When you're placing these cards up here, you want to leave space to build this tableau the way you're going to want to use it. Because when these trigger, they trigger in a very specific order. For example, I might create a set that is a green followed by a blue. What that means is I take a card out of anyone's green zone and place it into the blue zone, which is the discard pile. So if I had a card down at the bottom I didn't like, I could discard it. Or I could take one of my opponent's cards and place it into the discard pile. Now, if I had reversed this, I could take a card from the blue and place it in anyone's green. So if I had done it the other way when I placed them down here, I'd be able to take a card from the discard pile and place it into any player's green zone. In this case, of course, I'd be wanting to place it into mine. Now, this is the puzzle of the game, is moving these cards around each other's boards and your own board, taking some great cards from your opponent and bringing them to your side, or discarding certain cards from their tableau and making them lose them. You can even disrupt the player's set. For example, if they have their 2 cards out and they're waiting to use them for the right moment, you can discard one, which would break the set and actually cause both to discard. So manipulating these is the key to the game. Now you might be wondering what the goal of all this manipulation is. Well, the main goal is to get cards up into the passion zone, which is this top yellow zone here. As you're moving cards, if you play the yellow card as your second card, you can take a card from whatever zone, for example, the discard pile, and move it into your yellow zone. If you do that enough times, you're going to start to be creating sets or pairs again in that yellow zone. And when you do that, you're going to score points. And you'll see here on the player board, there is a list of the point values you're going to score for the different combinations. Notice some of these combinations actually score you 0 points or even negative points. This is how you can set up your opponents. You can actually move cards into their orange zone and trigger that and cause them to either get 0 points by wasting a card or even get negative points, which is going to be to their detriment. So this is definitely an aggressive take that puzzle game where you're trying to create these sets and move these cards around the board a lot. Now, those spirit cards I talked about earlier are going to kind of put a damper in all of that planning. A spirit card is going to let you create a fugue. Now you'll notice we have these 4 colored minis out here, and these are going to represent each of the 4 possible colored fugues you can create. When you play a spirit card onto your tableau in conjunction with any color, so for example, a spirit with a yellow card, I'm going to be able to create the fugue for that particular color. I take that miniature and put it on my player board to denote I now have control of the yellow fugue. From this point on, all of my spirit cards also count as yellow cards. So I can use these to start moving spirit or cards up into that passion zone and make those sets and score points. Also, at the end of the game, these fugues are worth points, but they can be removed if another player plays that same combination of yellow and spirit. They can destroy your fugue and return it to the pile. And this is true of all the different color combinations. So you're going to be able to choose one of those fugues or try to create one of those fugues in order to maximize the strategy you're going for. If you ever have 2 spirits together, you can still combine them, but it's going to let you create or destroy a fugue of any color. And remember, like I said, those fugues are going to be worth points at the end of the game. However, the passion fugue is actually negative points because it's going to help you a lot moving cards up into your passion zone and creating those sets, but you're going to pay at the end of the game. So once you've basically just done that, like I said, all you're doing is sliding one card up, and then all of these different chain reactions are going to occur from that one slide. You can take people's cards out of their tableau and put it in your vision row, which would then potentially create another chain that could be triggered as well. At the end of your turn, once you've done all of what you can do with that card movement, you're going to draw cards from the deck to replace whatever is missing from your imagination. So you're always going to end your turn with 2 cards down here. Now, of course, another player can manipulate that. They can take your cards out. They can even add cards so that you have more than 2 card options down here. Any of this is fair game to be moved around by playing these card combinations. You're going to do this back and forth until this entire deck is empty. It's not going to take long. There's only about 18 cards in here, so you're only going to get a couple rounds before the deck is empty. When it is, you're going to remove a spirit out of the deck. You're going to shuffle the discard pile back in. You're going to place it face down, and you're going to continue playing. Now, when it runs out again, you're going to take out another spirit, and then another spirit, and then another spirit. So you're going to play through all 4 spirits. If there's ever a situation where you have one of the spirits in your tableau, for example, I might have 2 spirits when the deck runs out. There's no more spirits in the deck. I have to discard and remove from the game one of my own spirits. So again, that's another aspect where timing is very important. This entire game comes down to timing, but the game plays in about 30 minutes. So if you find yourself in kind of a bad setup, you can just start over and play again with 2 players. Now, if you get more sets of this game, you can bring in more player boards, more cards, and build bigger decks, and you can actually play with more players. Of course, that is going to increase the player time or play time a little bit, but it's going to make the decisions you make a lot harder because remember, you're always able to interact with anybody's zones when you make those set combos. And so that is Fugue. It is on Kickstarter right now. So take a look at their Kickstarter page and see the final components, see more information on how to combine sets and things like that. And if you have any comments or questions, please come back and leave them here. And as always, thank you for liking, subscribing, and following what we do, and I will see you next time.